had to do as far as trying to get your credit back and clean it up. I mean, you're an accountant. I mean, your credit bureau must mean everything to you because, you know, when I do background investigations on people that are working in accounting capacities, one of the things employers want to know, look, if she owes a lot of money, you know, she might be that kind of person to grab from the till, kind of speak. So we want to make sure that she's bondable, insurable, and she has a clean bureau. So a lot of times when employers hire accountants and stuff like that, you know, they always want to make sure that they're have a clean financial background. So this is a huge, like for me, this would be like the end of the world. So how do you get your stuff back?
I mean, I felt it's an emotional response. I was victimized personally. My identity was stolen. They stole my credit, and it's very important to me. I mean, I had good credit. That's why they stole it. And for a period of time, I did not have good credit. And if my husband and I had actually wanted to, say, purchase our own home during that time period, we would have had a really tough time. This took me hundreds of hours to clean up. So I investigated my case at the right time, and this is what I do for a living. So I think I can do it a little bit more easily.
Let's talk about the cleanup. What are you doing to clean it up?
So we, so I get this list. Now, all of those groups that access my credit rating, they lower my score because there's so many hits of people.
Yes.
So the fact that there weren't just credit cards taken out of my name, there's still an impact. I had still reduced credit because of this. So I am contacting Equifax and TransUnion right away.
You're writing them, right?
I phone them right away. I phone them right away. I've been a victim of identity theft. Here's what I think is going on. So this is a process now. It's not so. It should be as easy as here's a telephone number, call in, but you have to wait. You get in a line, things happen. You leave a message, you get called back. So suddenly my daily agenda is connecting with Equifax and TransUnion. I get a fraud alert put on each file. I now get a victim response package. Here's all the things that you have to do. I have to do it, right? It's not done for me.
Okay, well, let's clarify. So it's entirely up to you as the victim to clean up your bureau. You're entirely on your own, correct? It's not something a lawyer could do for you. It's not something whatever. You're writing the letters, and whether or not we're an accountant or whatever, that person, because there are people who don't speak English well in this country, people who don't write well in this country, who may not be able to do this letter writing, but you did all the writing and stuff on yourself, by yourself, correct?
I did it by myself. Okay. Now, you could hire somebody to help you,
of course,
but hundreds of hours. It costs phenomenal amounts of money. You can't. So you have to do it yourself.
Good.
People have come to me and said, Jennifer, can you help me? I said, I can help you, but you don't want to pay. You don't want to pay me to help you, right? I can advise you. So I am. I'm writing letters. I have to prove who I am each time. My identity was stolen, but each time that I'm trying to correct the errors, the fraudulent activity, the crime, I have to prove. So I have copies of my passport, copies of my driver's license, copies of all the correct data.
And you're sending this to who now? Equifax?
I'm sending this to Equifax. Okay. But part of what I learned, and I'm always learning about how the systems work, so I'm learning about how the whole credit agencies work, is that my file with Equifax is updated by information from all the different financial institutions. Yes. So if I don't clean up the problem at Royal Bank, at all these different financial institutions, the error will just get updated again. So I've got to clean it up with Equifax, and then Equifax says, okay, but you got to go clean it up here and here and here. One thing that I learned in my case is that the individuals behind it did apply for a credit card in my name at Kent's TV and Appliance, somewhere in Brantford, Ontario. Now, I don't think they were actually trying to get a credit card to buy a television, but they put my name in. They put down a different employer, a different phone number, a different address. So all of that information gets updated through the system, and the wrong information is now sitting on my my file with Equifax.
I mean, I think what people want to know is, do you have any idea where they got this data? I mean, where did they get your name? Where did they get your date of birth? And where did they get their SIN number? I mean, did you fill out something on the internet incorrectly? Or, I mean, do you have any idea where they got it?
So I investigated my case. We had some good news in terms of we were able to get some stuff done, but I don't actually know where they got my data. They had my correct name and correct SIN number, false date of birth, false address. Everything else was wrong, but they had the right SIN number. So think about where that data is. Did they steal a piece of mail from CRA, the Canadian Revenue Agency, from my mailbox? I had a mailbox sitting outside my door. That's easy to do. I've had a few people at our bank say to us, how much money do you think it would take to buy from one of our employees one of those small discs with a name, with people's names and people's SIN?
Do you buy on the internet a lot? I mean, have you ever shopped like you do?
Sorry, I do. Okay. I don't think I've ever given my SIN number on the internet.
All right.
Okay, but I do buy on the internet.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you were just in Law Times just recently on an article that was, we're talking about mortgage fraud, and we were talking about identity theft. And, you know, I had a lady send me an email on my show, and she says, you know, Kevin, you did some really, really good shows on mortgage fraud the other day, but you don't tell us how to protect ourselves from it. And I want to tell people about these insurance policies out there where you can go, for example, and pay a fee to an insurance company, and they'll cover the legal costs if you got to spend all this money to remove yourself from title, whatever. Do you have any comment that you want to make for, like, I haven't been very vocal on these policies. I'm probably going to start to be vocal, but you made a comment on the article that I'd like you to share with the viewers about people who are going out and buying identity theft insurance policies and buying mortgage title insurance properties. What's your opinion with respect to, is this a deterrent to crime, or is this going to resolve the problem?
Well, I have a very, I feel very strongly, actually, about the title insurance.
Yes.
Title insurance as a product for an individual, somebody who suddenly finds out, they wake up in the morning and somebody knocks on the door and says, sorry, you don't own your home anymore. If you have title insurance, that's very good for the individual. It's going to protect them. We're reading about more and more of these stories in the press.
But it's not going to pay to have the credit bureau redone and stuff, but you're
not,
still on your own, right?
You're still on your own. But if you stand back a little bit, that title insurance, we're institutionalizing the fraud. We're accepting that it's going to happen.
And everyone's going to make money on the process. The lawyers make money on the process. Even my own industry will be making money because we're going to be going out taking statements and basically saying, you know, are you who you are, and investigating. Insurance adjusters make on it. So you're well, go ahead. Tell me.
Well, I want to focus my efforts and the efforts of more people on preventing. We know how to prevent this crime. We can prevent this crime. Maybe not 100%, but pretty close.
Can you give us an example of how it could be prevented?
Well, in the one case, when I sat down face to face with the president of the mortgage company that had lent money to my name, I said, I need to know what you're going to do about it. You're the president of a company that facilitated the theft of my identity. You allowed this to happen. All you needed to do was to put my name in the white pages, or to find out that I worked at Grant Thornton, and to contact me using information that was independent of what these fraudsters put in front of me.
So lack of due diligence by...
Lack of due diligence.
Right.
Put my name in, find out my phone number or my address from a different source, find out that it doesn't match, and say, hey, wait a minute, we're dealing with a problem here.
You know, in the United States, Equifax has a scenario now where every single time your credit bureau is accessed, you're notified. They're going to notify the phone number that's on there. When I went to Equifax.com, I see it there. When I go to Equifax.ca, I don't see it. Do you think that if we implemented a scenario where, you know, if someone goes and peeks at your bureau, okay, for any reason, that they call you, or there's some kind of thing where you're getting a fax or something like that, do you think that would resolve the problem? You think it would help in your situation?
I think it would help, and this is the same kind of issue for me as the title insurance. So Equifax, that's a company. They have my data. They use my data. They make money. That's what they do. They sell my data to different institutions.
Right.
So they need to make sure that only people who I give permission to are accessing the data. I think right now you can visit the website and you can buy a package for them. I think you can pay $25 a quarter or so much a year, and they'll send you reports of who's accessing your information.
Yes.
It's not okay to me that I have to pay for that. I think they should be notifying me.
Okay, let me ask you this question. One of the things that we had Jay Somerset, an investigative journalist who talked about mortgage fraud on the show. Okay. And one of the things that we said, for example, with respect to mortgage fraud, would be a system where it's completely computerized. We already know that the land title data is completely computerized.
In Ontario,
correct. And if, for example, we had some kind of a pass-coded thing where every single time someone looks at my home, goes on to the computerized system to look at the title of my home, that they're notified, or they can't move the title of my home unless there's some kind of an 18-digit passcode or a barcode that matches, just something computer-wise to stop it from happening in the first place. Because like myself, I'm against these policies. I do think that we need to have them, but I'm concerned that everyone's going to start making money.
They're not preventative.
They're
not preventative.
Exactly.
Yeah. They help after the fact,
yes.
And we want to prevent.
And one of the things you said in the article that really is just, you said that insurance funds like this are really giving people, if I could use your words, if you don't mind, a Band-Aid for someone who's already bleeding.
That's right.
So to speak.
And we need a Band-Aid when we're bleeding.
Yes.
But let's stop the cut in the first place.
Okay.
That's where I want to focus.
Now, let's talk about the bad guy.
Okay.
Did they find this? First of all, was it a guy? Was it a girl? Who was it?
Okay. So as I'm following up all those different groups that have accessed my credit. I'm starting to connect the dots, and I'm coming across a couple of names: a Thelma Tomlinson, a Philip Tomlinson, and a name Mike Bell. So I'm starting to hear these names and try to connect the dots and figure out the data how do they have this data about Jennifer Fidian Green. I actually took my case to the Toronto Police Fraud Squad. Now they've got a lot of cases ongoing, and I actually do some work with them. So I was fortunate enough they were able to link my case because of the work I'd done and the names that I identified to a current ongoing case. So that was good news because it got some attention early, very fast. But maybe the not so good news was that it didn't get fully investigated. So there was actually charges laid in my case and several others against this individual by the name of Philip Tomlinson.
Philip Tomlinson.
Philip Tomlinson.
Okay. Is that a real name or is that a fake name?
As far as I know, it's a real name.
Okay.
He did receive convictions under that name.
Okay.
He was working with others. It might have been the Thelma. I'm not sure who were using my name. When those cases went forward to the Crown and they were doing their work, the actual charge in my case got dropped, but they got a conviction against this individual in other identity theft cases.
Let's talk about the conviction then. So they found him, right? What did he get? Like
I think it was months. So
months,
like
months
8 to 10 months
of
incarceration, and that's.
Do you know for a fact that he actually slept in jail? Do we know that?
I do not know that.
Okay, but
No.
would it be your opinion that it was under a year?
It was under a year.
So
That's
no matter what happened, everything that you went through, the 2 houses that were purchased, your victimization, all of it, your opinion is that he went to jail under a year, right?
It's not a deterrent, Kevin.
Okay.
In this case,
I'm sorry. Okay, let's back up. That's important. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to clarify that.
Yeah.
You're coming on here and you're saying that law enforcement and punishment is not a deterrent to.
I'm saying that the time period, the punishment around this wasn't. It's not enough to deter them. If I stand back a little bit, in my case, the mortgages were worth about $500,000. I think that the fraudsters probably got almost $200,000, so that the properties were really only worth about $300,000. Mm-hmm. So where does that extra money go? Well, that's the fraudsters are doing this for a reason.
Okay.
So that's a lot of money. And how many names are they doing this with to have one of the individuals in jail for a short period of time?
Do you agree? I mean, a lot of people are advocating about this particular crime, saying the